smoking less, but
Sure,
enjoying it more.
fine. Try not to upset.
Okay.
Mr. Sanford, we have a visitor out here for you.
Just a minute.
The Hidden Secrets of Sanford and Son. Hey, Dillinger, put away my paper and empty out your pockets. Did you find anything yet, Herm? No. Not yet, man. For 5 complete seasons, Sanford and Son captured the hearts of millions of American viewers with the hilarious adventures of Fred Sanford and his son Lamont in their junkyard in the Watts neighborhood of Los Angeles. But what the audience never imagined is that behind the laughter and iconic moments of the series, there was a complex and dark web of secrets, devastating conflicts, and personal tragedies that profoundly shaped both the show and the lives of its protagonists. Today we're going to reveal the shocking truths that remained hidden for decades, showing how success on television doesn't always guarantee happiness, how racial battles were fought daily behind the scenes, and how death imitated art in the cruelest and most ironic way possible. What you're about to discover will forever change the way you watch this beloved classic series. Long before becoming the beloved Fred Sanford, who entered the living rooms of American families every week, Red Fox reigned supreme in the world of adult comedy as one of the most respected blue comedy comedians. That style of humor, loaded with explicit language and jokes intended exclusively for adult audiences. This radical transformation of his public persona represents one of the greatest reinventions in American television history, and few know how difficult and risky this change truly was. Red Fox began his artistic career in the 1940s, doing mime and singing in Harlem clubs in New York, performing for audiences who appreciated raw, unfiltered entertainment. Gradually, he evolved to become a master of ceremonies in Baltimore nightclubs, where he developed and perfected his stand-up comedy act that would make him legendary in underground comedy circles. In 1947, partnering with another comedian named Slappy White, he was already earning an impressive $450 per week, a substantial amount for that time when most African-American performers struggled to make ends meet. His big break came in 1964 when NBC host Hugh Downs saw him perform in San Francisco, and despite network executives' serious concerns about his adult and explicit humor, took a chance and invited him to appear on the Today Show. The success was instantaneous and overwhelming, beyond anyone's expectations. Soon Red Fox was being courted by all the major talk shows of the era, including The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, The Joey Bishop Show, The Merv Griffin Show, The Mike Douglas Show, and The Steve Allen Show. Every network wanted a piece of this comedic genius who could make audiences roar with laughter. When performing in Las Vegas, he earned up to $4,000 per week, a true fortune by 1960s standards, performing multiple shows a night to packed audiences who traveled from across the country to see him. However, the transition to family television required a complete overhaul of his artistic persona and everything he had built his career on. The man who once dominated stages with explicit and provocative humor now needed to channel all his comedic energy to create a character that could enter the living rooms of American families during prime time without offending censors or conservative viewers. This reinvention was not merely professional, but represented a true artistic metamorphosis that very few comedians have ever managed to achieve as successfully as Red Fox did with Fred Sanford. The most shocking paradox of Red Fox's career was how a man earning $35,000 per episode of Sanford and Son, making him one of the highest-paid actors on American television at the time, managed to face such devastating financial ruin that would haunt him for the rest of his life. This contradiction reveals the hidden complexities of Hollywood success and the deadly dangers of an extravagant and unsustainable lifestyle that many celebrities fall victim to. During the height of Sanford and Son's popularity, when the show was consistently ranking in the top 10 Nielsen ratings, Red Fox was not satisfied with his already substantial and impressive salary. In 1974, at the peak of the show's success, he made an audacious demand that shocked the entire entertainment industry and television executives. He wanted $25,000 per week, plus an extra dollar. The goal was clear and deeply symbolic, going far beyond simple greed. He wanted to earn more than Carol O'Connor, the white star of CBS's All in the Family, which was Sanford and Son's main competitor. This demand wasn't just about money, but about recognition and racial equity in the American entertainment industry, which was still deeply segregated in terms of payments and opportunities for black performers. When his demands weren't met immediately by NBC executives who hoped he would back down, Red Fox made a drastic decision that shocked all of Hollywood and made national headlines. He simply walked off the set in the middle of filming, leaving producers scrambling to figure out how to continue production. His departure forced producers to completely rewrite 9 full episodes across 2 different seasons, creating creative narrative explanations for Fred Sanford's absence in the plot that sometimes strained credibility. The situation escalated so dramatically that the show's producers sued him for $10 million for breach of contract and damages, claiming his walkout had cost them millions in production delays and lost advertising revenue. However, the inescapable reality that everyone in the industry knew was that Red Fox was absolutely irreplaceable to the series' success and ratings. Eventually, after tense negotiations that lasted weeks, a new deal was negotiated, securing not only the higher salary he wanted, but also an impressive 25% of the show's net profits, making him one of the first African-American actors to secure such a lucrative profit-sharing arrangement. Ironically, despite these astronomical earnings that placed him among the highest-paid artists on American television and should have secured his financial future for life, Red Fox maintained a completely unsustainable lifestyle that would ultimately destroy him financially. He collected luxury cars as a passionate hobby, owning dozens of expensive vehicles at any given time, owned multiple expensive properties in different states, including mansions in California and Las Vegas, threw extravagant parties that became legendary in Hollywood, and lived far beyond his actual financial means, even with his substantial income. In 1983, he was forced to declare personal bankruptcy, a devastating public humiliation for someone at the height of fame and recognition who had seemed invincible. The situation worsened dramatically in 1989 when the Internal Revenue Service, the feared American IRS, seized virtually all his possessions in a highly publicized raid due to a monumental debt of $2.5 million in unpaid taxes, plus heavy penalties and accumulated interest that had grown over years of neglect. This turbulent financial trajectory adds a deeply tragic layer to his story, showing that even the most spectacular television success doesn't guarantee personal stability or lasting happiness, and serves as a cautionary tale. It's a somber reminder of how fame and fortune can be as ephemeral as they are deceptive, and how poor financial management can destroy even the most successful career. One of the most intense and significant battles of Sanford and Son took place far from the cameras and the studio audience, in the writers' rooms, where a silent war was waged daily over authentic racial representation and cultural accuracy. This struggle revealed the deep complexities and contradictions of 1970s American television, when the industry was just beginning to address racial issues in programming, but was still largely dominated by white perspectives and often stereotypical assumptions about black life and culture. Most of Sanford and Son's writers were white, attempting to write stories about black life in Watts, one of Los Angeles's most emblematic African-American neighborhoods, with a rich history and complex social dynamics that outsiders struggled to understand. Red Fox and the rest of the black cast frequently confronted these writers in heated script meetings, stating directly and without diplomacy, "Black people don't talk like that," or "That's not how we act in real life." These discussions became progressively more heated and confrontational as the series evolved over 5 seasons, revealing a fundamental clash between outside perception based on stereotypes and lived reality that the cast members knew intimately. The most controversial moment of this ongoing tension occurred during a script reading when Fred Sanford was written to use an offensive racial slur in a courtroom scene that made everyone uncomfortable. Surprisingly, when the episode was filmed before a live studio audience, the audience applauded enthusiastically, finding the moment authentic and powerful. But NBC executives in their corporate offices were deeply concerned about possible negative repercussions and lawsuits from civil rights organizations. Red Fox insisted passionately on keeping the word in the final broadcast script, arguing forcefully that he, as a black man, had the right to use it in an authentic context, even if others didn't have that right. This bold and provocative position demonstrated how deeply committed Red Fox was to maintaining the show's authenticity and cultural integrity, even if it created significant discomfort or controversy within the television network's executive suites. These behind-the-scenes battles weren't just about specific dialogues or isolated situations in individual episodes, but represented a larger struggle for narrative control and authentic representation of Black American life on national television. Red Fox and his cast were effectively educating white writers about cultural nuances, authentic slang, real behaviors, and genuine perspectives that couldn't be learned through superficial research or assumptions based on common stereotypes perpetuated by previous television shows. This dynamic transformed Sanford and Son into something much more than mere television entertainment designed to sell advertising. The show became a true laboratory for cultural authenticity on American television, paving the way for future series with diverse casts and more authentic portrayals of minority communities. The actors of Sanford and Son harbored personal secrets so extraordinary and unexpected that their revelations completely changed how fans view the show decades later when the truth finally emerged. The most shocking of all came directly from Demond Wilson, who played Lamont Sanford with such warmth and humor in a candid interview years after the series ended. "I never filmed an episode without being armed. Red was armed too." This stunning confession revealed that both Wilson and Red Fox carried loaded firearms during all filming sessions, transforming the seemingly cheerful television set into an environment where personal safety was a constant and real concern that contradicted the show's light-hearted tone. But why did two lead actors of a successful sitcom feel the need to carry weapons in their own workplace, surrounded by crew and security? The answer was never fully clarified publicly by either man, but it suggests underlying tensions and real fears that the audience laughing at home never imagined or suspected. Demond Wilson had an impressive military background that very few fans knew about during the show's run. He served honorably in the United States Army from 1966 to 1968 as part of the 4th Infantry Division, fighting in the devastating Vietnam War, where he was wounded in actual combat and received military honors for his service. This war zone experience was worlds away from the peaceful and comedic Watts Junkyard, portrayed on television every week. Curiously, despite his military toughness, Wilson also had solid artistic training from early childhood, making his first Broadway appearance at just 4 years old in a professional production and dancing at Harlem's famous Apollo Theater at 12 years old, showing remarkable versatility. LaWanda Page, known and beloved as the strict and religious Aunt Esther on the series, who constantly battled with Fred, had perhaps the most surprising and shocking background of all the cast members. Before her television career brought her mainstream fame, she was a dangerous risk performer, known professionally as the Bronze Goddess of Fire, touring across the country with her death-defying act. Her act involved lighting cigarettes with her bare fingertips, swallowing fire before shocked audiences who couldn't believe what they were seeing, and even touching flaming torches directly to her own body without any apparent protection or safety equipment. She admitted candidly in later interviews that she frequently burned herself seriously during these dangerous performances, suffering painful injuries regularly, but was willing to take the risk to make a living and support her family during difficult economic times. After her fire-eating days finally ended due to injuries and age, LaWanda became a successful stand-up comedian, famous for blue comedy, a style completely opposite to the pious and judgmental Aunt Esther she would later portray on television with such conviction. Her album Watch It, Sucker became a bestseller in comedy record stores, using her character's famous catchphrase but packed with explicit adult jokes about sexuality, race relations, and religion in a provocative manner that would shock anyone who only knew her as Aunt Esther. The transformation from a dangerous fire performer, risking her life nightly, to an adult humor comedian working nightclubs, and finally to the conservative and religious Aunt Esther, clutching her Bible, represents one of the most radical and unexpected reinventions in television history. The connection between LaWanda Page and Red Fox went far beyond the screen and their on-screen chemistry. They were childhood friends from St. Louis, Missouri, who had known each other for over 40 years and maintained a deep friendship through decades of struggle and success. When producers initially wanted to fire LaWanda after early episodes for considering her acting style unsuitable for family television and too theatrical, Red Fox made a powerful and non-negotiable statement to the executives, "Hell no," and threatened to walk away from the show completely if she was dismissed, risking everything for his friend. This unwavering loyalty and willingness to sacrifice his own position ensured that one of the most memorable and beloved characters of 1970s television could exist and enchant millions of viewers for years to come. Red Fox's tragic death on October 11, 1991, represents one of the cruelest and most heartbreaking ironies in Hollywood history, a moment where the line between fiction and reality became tragically indistinguishable in the most devastating way possible that still haunts those who witnessed it. For years and years on Sanford and Son, Fred Sanford had simulated heart attacks as one of his most famous and iconic running gags, always clutching his chest dramatically while looking skyward and declaring, "I'm coming, Elizabeth," to manipulate situations in his favor in the plot, making audiences roar with laughter every single time. On that fateful day in October, Red Fox was rehearsing enthusiastically for his new show, The Royal Family, produced by Eddie Murphy for CBS, which was supposed to mark his triumphant return to television. During a routine rehearsal on the set, he suddenly clutched his chest exactly like Fred Sanford would and fell heavily to the studio floor in front of everyone. His shocked castmates and technical crew members, who had witnessed Fred Sanford simulate heart attacks hundreds of times on Sanford and Son over 5 seasons, initially laughed and applauded, genuinely expecting him to get up any second and deliver one of his classic punchlines with perfect comic timing. The gag had become so iconic and such an integral part of his public persona, so deeply rooted in the minds of everyone who worked with him over the years, that the tragic reality was initially completely indistinguishable from theatrical performance and comedy. The precious minutes lost while everyone waited expectantly for the comedic delivery that would never come were absolutely crucial and potentially life-saving. When they finally realized with growing horror that this was a real emergency and not an elaborate joke or rehearsal stunt, it was already too late to save him. Red Fox had suffered a massive fatal heart attack, and the very joke that brought so much joy and laughter to the world for years became the tragic reality of his death, in the cruelest twist of fate imaginable. This devastating irony transformed his passing into one of the most haunting and emotionally complex moments in world entertainment history that people still discuss today. The impact of this death was amplified tremendously by the fact that Red Fox had spent years playing with his own mortality through his character Fred Sanford. Fred Sanford constantly simulated medical emergencies with theatrical flair, transforming natural anxiety about health and death into palatable humor for millions of viewers who found comfort in laughing at mortality. When real death finally came for Red Fox, it perfectly mirrored the fiction he had created, creating a disturbing symmetry that left everyone who knew him deeply shaken and traumatized for years afterward. Sanford and Son remains a historic landmark in American television history and continues to influence sitcoms today. But the stories behind the cameras reveal that the price of success was much higher than any viewer could have imagined while laughing comfortably in their homes every week. Red Fox, Demon Wilson, LaWanda Page, and the entire cast carried deep personal burdens, dark secrets, and constant struggles that contrasted dramatically with the pure joy they brought to screens weekly. The show wasn't just superficial entertainment designed to sell products, but a true cultural battleground where serious issues of racial representation, artistic authenticity, and professional dignity were fought daily behind the scenes in ways the audience never saw. The laughter that echoed through American homes was built on foundations of intense conflict, iron determination, and in many cases, genuine personal pain and real suffering. Perhaps the most powerful lesson from these untold stories is that great performances often emerge from great personal struggles, and that television's funniest moments can arise from life's most painful truths. Sanford and Son remains hilarious and relevant, but now we know that behind each laugh was a complex, rich, and sometimes deeply tragic human story that deserves to be remembered, honored, and never forgotten.